Welcome to the Mississippi Board of Nursing. It is our board meeting, and at this time, before we begin, I would like to ask Ms. Lacey Gentry to lead us in prayer.
Thank you. Please bow with me. Gracious Father, we praise you for this glorious sunny day. Thank you for the rain, but also thank you for the sunshine. I also praise you for the phenomenal profession that we are able to represent and serve. We thank you for all of our blessings, and we ask that you forgive us of our shortcomings and continue to meet us with grace, your grace. Help us all to love each other better and serve you as your hands and feet through the nursing profession. We love you, Lord. Amen.
Amen. So before we begin this morning, I would like to start with a roll call, beginning to my left. Mr. Castillo, if you will state your name.
Alvino Castillo.
Carly Walker.
Janelle Moody. Lacey Gentry. Dr. Melissa King.
Jeremy Cummins.
Sandra Culpepper.
Jamie Clinton.
Dr. Renee Dotson.
Mary Stewart.
Nancy Norris Johnson.
And online or on Zoom, we have Mr. TJ Adams. Can you state your name for us?
Yes, ma'am. TJ Adams, RN.
At this point, I would like to declare a quorum. The first item on the agenda is approval of the agenda.
Make a motion we approve the agendas.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Any abstain? The motion moves forward. At this point, the open forum, do we have anyone from the public that would like to speak this morning? All right, moving forward. The legislative update, Mr. Bottomer.
I think my car just slid sideways in the parking lot. I'm here. Actually, the Mississippi Senate worked up until not long ago this morning, so. Shan, I'm kind of used to it moving early this Friday. I don't like that. It's good to see y'all, and as y'all might know, we have been very busy around the Capitol, healthcare and a lot of other issues. I'll just start off mentioning the Medicaid expansion bill is still alive. There's a pretty good gap between the Senate and the House position, but it is going to conference. So we'll see what comes out of that. Obviously, a lot of effort put on behalf of particularly our professional associations advocating for full practice authority for our APRNs. Unfortunately, that bill did not come out of the House Committee, Public Health Committee. It was brought up for a vote. It was a very close vote. Quite candidly, there were a couple of votes that switched right there at the end, which can happen sometimes, especially on a bill like this. Again, there's support out there for it, but I still think there are some misunderstandings, quite candidly, about really what it does and what it doesn't do. And I think there'll just be a continued effort to try to educate or better inform those folks and let them understand that everything you hear is not exactly correct or accurate. So anyway, but a lot of our associations and certainly the board was supportive of the people that we regulate and license, but we'll continue on that journey. Wanted to mention Senate Bill 2080. I'm just going to quickly mention a few here. This was the midwifery bill that would have actually created a new, Dr. Johnson, I think, entity, right, to regulate midwifery. That bill did not pass, but it was introduced. It died. It was Senate Bill 2080. Of course, we know Senator Blackwell's bill on the FPA was Senate Bill 2377. Representative Scoggins' FPA bill was House Bill 821. One that I think everybody should pay attention to is House Bill 1640. I call it the Omnibus Mental Health Bill. It's very important. It addresses several aspects in our mental health care system. One, my lawyer friend here will appreciate civil commitments. It's looking at the commitment process. And, you know, now someone, if an interested person, say a family member, takes someone, they go to the chancery clerk's office, you know, then they try to get a writ ordered for the sheriff to pick them up, have them examined. One of the things this bill would do would be a pre-screening prior to the commitment process. Where they have one of those crisis intervention teams or the community health centers, they would go and try to evaluate this person prior to an actual commitment. The thought being, if we can have an alternative or divert them from that process, then we're helping a patient, and we don't want sick or mentally ill people in jail, right? Locked up in jail. And that's been a big problem because, you know, we just haven't had the beds and the facilities. So a lot of these people, out of necessity, not discretion, have been placed in county jails. It's not good for the patient or the sick person. It's not good for the county. I can tell you the sheriffs, they're not trained for that. So this bill attempts to address some of those issues. So I thought it was merited mentioning. They're working on some things with hemp and cannabis. There's a bill afoot. I think it looks like it's going to pass, still in process, that would, you know, you go to the gas station, of course, you see a lot of things for sale in the gas station, kratom and CBD oil, I mean, everything. And I've been told some of those things, maybe not necessarily the two I mentioned, there are some things that are technically illegal that are being sold in places that they should not be sold. And they have quite an intoxicating effect. To me, that's kind of a polite word for it probably, but so this bill, they're wanting to move some of the cannabis things. I don't think it's the like CBD oil, but some of the edibles or whatever, they're wanting to require those be sold in a dispensary, cannabis dispensary. You kind of have two sections in the dispensary. One would be hemp based and the other. And they've got into this big discussion about THC levels and what is acceptable, what's not. And there's really no testing on the hemp and that kind of thing. So there's been a lot of discussion on that. That's House Bill 1676. I've mentioned this bill to you earlier. It did not pass, but there was a Senate Bill 2070 with nurse practitioners authorized to dispense legend drugs to patients. I think if I'm correct, Dr. Johnson, under federal law, that requires a prescription. Is that right? I think that's correct. But that bill was dropped. Again, that's related back to the cannabis, you know, to conform to the Cannabis Act was the intent of it. I know this is something that the board leadership, Shan, I know you and Dr. Johnson, some of the board members been very interested in workforce training. Obviously, we have our own Office of Workforce Training for the Board of Nursing. This House Bill 1129, and it's still going. It would transfer the Office of Mississippi Workforce from UMC to the State Department of Health. And so it would move that. And I think the parties, Dr. Johnson, have agreed upon that, I think. So, yeah, okay. Now this other bill, we ended up having a lot of discussion about Senate Bill 2860, Medication Aid Act, AIDE. This is where you would have someone that could be hired with like, Phyllis, I'm trying to remember, was it 6 hours of training, 12? I mean, it was not much, but they could actually inject people with insulin and they could administer an inhaler. And I'm going, I mean, just with bare minimum training. And there was kind of a push behind that because these personal care homes, I guess that would include what I call assisted living as well, I assume. I understand it's a money thing. You find me, they'd rather hire somebody at $12 an hour or whatever. I'm picking that number rather than having an LPN or something else. But you both understand, you're bringing, I don't care if it's blister pack or not, you're taking that medication to those patients. But you're talking about injections and that like I said, there was a back and forth on this with the folks. And like I said, I understand the business side of it, but as Dr. Johnson's always saying, our priority is patient safety and doing things to protect the public. And so that bill died, it did not pass, but I wanted you to know there was kind of a lot going on with that bill. And then they've got another bill on cannabis where they really tried to expand it on advertising and all this. That got shot down, but I think they're gonna do some things on background checks and fees and appeals and that kind of thing. There's a bill that I know some people, y'all, I mean, there's this class of what we call rare diseases. They don't happen a lot, but they're horrific for those families and members that do. This bill has been dropped several years, and I think it's going to pass into law this year. I think it may be on the way to the governor. Mississippi Rare Disease Advisory Council, create Senate Bill 2156. And I think it's going to be housed at UMC, but they're going to study and gather data and that kind of thing about rare diseases. I think they make a report to the legislature, perhaps to Department of Health or other entities. And some of these families that are impacted, children or adults, quite frankly, have been pushing for this just to bring a focus and a light on rare diseases. And so I think that's something that is a good thing. And, there again, we're pushing along, hopefully, though, helping people that are sick or having medical issues. The last thing I'll mention is House Bill 1803. That is our appropriation bill. Shan and I have talked, and I would be remiss without thanking Shan for all her hard work on that budget. Thanks, Shan, and all your, I can text her, say, look, can you get me a one-pager? I know you sent me a 2-page. Can you get me a 1-pager? And bam, it's there, and I appreciate that. And y'all know it's like wrestling with a bear over there when you get to money and money issues. And I can see the effect, the ARPA money, most of it has gone away. Now, there's still a pot out there, but it's nothing like what we had the last 2 or 3 years. So things, and then you've got PERS, we're all familiar with the Public Employees Retirement System issue, which I'm sure they're going to be, there will end up being a large appropriation made to shore up the PERS funds. So general funds are tighter. And there's a mentality, I think, capital about watching dollars closer, but our bill is scheduled to go to conference. So we've got some more time to work on it. And we'll continue to work on that. And with Dr. Johnson, Shan, and other staff, and certainly any of the board members, to see what we can do to make sure we have the adequate resources here for this board to carry out its duties and responsibilities. So with that, I'll end my presentation. Anyone's got any questions?
Anyone have any questions for Mr. Bobinger?
I just have a couple. So the Rare Diseases Committee Council, they've appropriated funds for that, or they?
No, that's a great question. Thank you, Dr. Stewart, for asking that. What they did initially, they've created it. They've given them authority. I've been told there's already a benefactor who's willing to make some contributions. I don't know that for a fact. That's what I was told. But it said they could accept donations or receive funds. What I would like to see if they start really meeting and gathering data, then you can take that and go to the legislature and say, okay, we're carrying out our duties, responsibilities, give us some state funds to support it. So I think that's kind of the idea. It's gotta be self-sufficient at this point for private donations. But I think if it works like it should, then I think the legislature later would probably be open to funding.
It's curious.
Yes.
Any other questions?
Ray, do you have an update on Senate Bill 2799, the reconstitution of all the boards that's went back
Yes,
to
I
the
did.
Senate for concurrence?
I was on the phone with Representative Randy Boyd on that very bill this morning. I've spoken to Representative Zuber, Hank Zuber, who has that bill as committee. The bill, thank you for asking that question. That is the bill dealing with the appointment of all state agency board members and something we've never seen before, every 4-year confirmation of every executive director, which to me, that obviously has always been a prerogative of a board, you know, whether it's board of nursing, board of medical licensure, or whatever. So we never had that. That would be a new wrinkle if that stays in the bill. Now, the bill as currently proposed, and it's going to conference, would come into effect in 2028. So there would be a 4-year delay period there, but nonetheless, at that point, it would still have an impact. The other thing is geographical diversity is supposedly one of the purposes behind the bill, meaning they want like so many from the southern, central, northern Supreme Court districts to try to ensure that various areas of the state are adequately represented. One thing we've been sensitive to is we want to keep high quality, right, our standards and qualifications up. You know, in this board, many of our appointees are recommended by professional nursing organizations or associations. And, you know, there's been, you know, some of our folks and that want to keep that in place. In other boards, we're not the only one have similar systems. Some don't, but some do. So it sort of depends on, you know, some folks are for just a straight out appointment. Some would rather somebody make a recommendation. But I just wanted to mention that was in there. I'm trying to remember, but basically it would be a reconstituting of the way the current system's done. Now, like our board members, obviously, you have to be, you know, do the advise and consent from the Senate once you're appointed by the governor. Some boards, believe it or not, do not even require, all boards do not require that. So for some boards, it's not just executive director, it would be the actual board itself, of their membership. But that's not a change for us, or would not be a change for this board. But I think a lot of agencies obviously are interested in the bill and are watching it. We'll see what happens in conference. I know Representative or Chairman Zuber has been open to discussing any particular issues we may have with our language and the bill. So that's encouraging. So we'll continue to look at that. But yes, it's headed to conference, and it appears to have leadership support on both sides. So it's not just some bill floating. I mean, I think it's an intentional bill. So.
I have a question about Medicaid expansion.
Yes.
Legislation. What's from the calendar standpoint and timing, what are the drop dead dates in terms of final action on that?
That's a good question. You know, on paper, you know, we always laugh and say on paper, sine die, you know, the last day is May the 5th, but all indications are they're really trying to get out a little early. Back to Speaker White, I think today said, you know, a lot of times they'll do a designated weekend for appropriation revenue bill. He's wanting to do that more during the week and speed the process up. I was watching Lieutenant Governor Hoseman today. he kept admonishing and encouraging his chairman, submit your names for your conferees on your bills that are going to conference. So I'm seeing, I really think there's that doesn't mean it'll happen. Normally, on the conference committee, like on Medicaid, you could run close to the end of April. Don't have the calendar in front of me, but you could go probably right near the end of April. So what's today, the 12th, maybe, is that right? So at least 2.5 weeks, probably close to it. But I got a feeling that's going to be compressed. The time period will, but there's still some time there. And I figure that'll be one of the, if they get a bill, it'll be one of the last bills. Yeah, yes, sir. It'll be one of the last ones. So.
Any other questions for Mr. Bobinger?
No, I have one comment if I may. I think when our assistant AG gets coffee next time, she needs to bring everybody a Starbucks. I think that's unfair. All right. Thank y'all very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Bobinger. Next, we're going to move forward with just a reminder for the Board of Directors retreat. It will be May 7th, 8th, and 9th with a reception occurring on the 7th and 2 days of education, which I will say is going to be a great educational opportunity for all of us. Next, I'm going to ask Dr. Burks for the Office of Nursing Workforce Report.
Good morning. From the Office of Nursing Workforce, first I'll start with the ONW Advisory Board Committee. That's a volunteer committee that consists of 10 members. And their purpose is to advise and assist the Office of Nursing Workforce. And currently there are 6 members whose term will expire June 2024. And we are actively seeking individuals who can get access to the advisory board. And as of the 10th, we had 4 applications. I know I received some information yesterday that there are a couple more individuals that are considering submitting for a position on the advisory committee. So if you know of anyone, please submit their information. The deadline is April 26, 2024. Also in ONW, the first newsletter was published, and that was on March the 8th. And that newsletter is currently on the ONW webpage. And we did receive positive feedback from stakeholders as well as the nursing community about the ONW newsletter. They thought it was very informative. They thought it was well put together. And they're looking forward to more newsletters from ONW in the future. Also with the ONW Student Nurse Retention Scholarships, we had 3 that graduated in February, 2 will graduate in May of 2024. 2 also finished their work service agreements in February. We had 2 that finished in January and 3 finished their service agreements in December. Also in Office of Nursing Workforce, they've been participating in community outreach. They participated in the health fair at Mississippi Delta Community College. It was also Mississippi Delta Community College, their advisory committee as well. And they were very appreciative of the board attending and participating because they said this was the first time they had the board out to their schools. So they were excited about that. Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College Career Fairs, April 2024. And they were also very appreciative. In terms of the ONW Nursing Program Scholarship, there were over $800,000 distributed to schools. And there are some letters of appreciation, and they are attached to the document that you receive. The schools, as well as the students, they are very appreciative of the funding that they receive through the scholarship program. And for many of these students, it is a game changer. It assists them. It helps them to go to that next level. And it also encourages and helps them to reach their goal of becoming nurses. We are in the process of reviewing the students' accountability forms because the students are responsible for submitting the names, the amount that each individual received. We will have a preliminary outcome report and that will be available in July. And that report will include the total number of students from each discipline that received their scholarships, their NCLEX outcomes, and those who are licensed in Mississippi. It will be a preliminary report because students will be graduating in May. There will be some that will possibly have taken boards at that time. So hopefully in the fall, we will have a finalized report for the boards release. And MVP, they are steady with the number of participants that are in that program. I want to thank the project manager, Casey Loper. She's done a wonderful job of facilitating and monitoring the current participants in that program. And Casey, she has been visible and out in the community. She was a vendor at the addiction conference in February. She's going to be attending the NOAP in May and also a part of the Mental Health Awareness Day in June. And Casey, she will be speaking at an upcoming event hosted by MMA. That's going to be in North Mississippi on April 26th. And that is the end of my report for the Office of Nursing and Health Care.
Thank you, Dr. Burks. Do we have any questions for it?
And Ms. Montgomery, she pulled up the newsletter.
Well, Dr. Burks, I would like to say, I believe collectively, we appreciate your efforts and this looks fantastic. And I really love that we received these letters. I think that's really important. So thank you. Next, moving on to the practical nursing educational report from Dr. Burks.
From the practical nursing side, I'll start with application. Bluefield College, they resubmitted their sub-study with corrections of the standards and criteria that they were found to be non-compliant. Last year, Bluefield actually submitted an application to start a new program in Mississippi. And the site visit team is currently in the process of reviewing that revised report. And once they have completed reviewing that report, we will submit a date to go out and do another site visit to that institution that they are located in the coastal area. Also, the accreditation schedule is coming up for the year of 2024. This will be the first time under the purview of Mississippi Board of Nursing that the accreditation site visits will occur. And as you can see, we have 4 visits scheduled for this year. And in addition to preparing the students for the accreditation visits, the board hosted a virtual accreditation training session for the PN directors, staff conducted on April the 4th. That training was a success, and the next training is scheduled for April the 16th, 2024. And also, the practical nursing program director has been participating in different conferences. You'll see the Mississippi LPN Association Convention that was held this week. We'll be attending the Mississippi School Nursing Association Conference in June. The PN Council Faculty Retreat also in June. And the Community College Board CTE Conference and Natchez, and that will be August 2024. That is the end of my report for practical nursing.
Any questions for Dr. Burks on the practical nursing report? Thank you, Dr. Burks, for your great work on that. Next, we're going to move into the director's report. Dr. Johnson.
Madam President, members of the board, good morning. Trying to see if Ms. Montgomery had my PowerPoint on there, but you have a copy of it in your packet. And so you will see that we've changed the report a little bit, and going forward, the report will look like this. And this is an opportunity for us to provide data, the metrics of what you've done on the past board meeting, so that we can keep up with that information and present that information to our stakeholders, and also to show how diligently, efficiently the board works to fulfill the mission of public safety here at the Board of Nursing, because you all do a great job and you work very hard. And that is also a testament to this week when we had our Associate General Counsel, Brandon Walker, who had to stand in the seat and do the entire week due to some unforeseen circumstances with our General Counsel. But I must say, Brandon and the legal team did an outstanding job, as well as the board panel that was convened to review the multiple number of cases that were brought before the board. So I just want to thank the board panel, thank my staff and Brandon and his staff for the outstanding job that they have done this week.
Yay, Brandon.
And as you will see, the agenda on here, basically, my report will include information on that agenda. And I like the saying by Mark Twain that says the secret to getting ahead is getting started. So this is something new that we're doing, but we're getting started and presenting the information that needs to be brought to the public's attention and to let you know how well you're doing. So we will go on to the next slide, the mission and vision. As you know, we are here to protect the public. We promote competence, we collaborate, we innovate, we educate, and we lead. We want to promote the interests of nurses and offer forward-thinking guidance in healthcare workforce, but regulate nursing practice and education to ensure public safety. Updates, Operation Nightingale, still ongoing. We are actively monitoring for any schools and our individuals associated with the schools. And I'm happy to report that Mississippi still has only had 6 nurses to show up as a result of the FBI investigation on Operation Nightingale. And those nurses have been confirmed to have been educated appropriately and received their nursing degrees appropriately. And that report has been forwarded to the appropriate authorities at the FBI level. Additionally, we have our first administrative denial that you will be given more information about when Madam President does her report. That is a result of the fraudulent school Operation Nightingale investigation that will be presented to the board today. I investigate all situations dealing with Operation Nightingale firsthand. So they have to come to me. I have affidavits, things of that nature from the FBI. I have a direct contact with the FBI. And so it's still ongoing. New schools are continuing to develop. We get notification when the FBI completes this investigation of any new affidavits that come forward with any information of any licensees that are in our database. And I must say that our ThoughtSpan system has worked very well with us being able to identify any licensees. I've asked for an audit retrospectively to look back to make sure that we don't have individuals that have graduated from these schools that may have done that prior to this investigation. And ThoughtSpan has been very cooperative and our system has worked very well in that we have been able to either identify and make the appropriate changes in investigation, or we have not had many that have graduated from some of those schools. So that's a great testament to the technology system that you also graciously approve us to have here at the Board of Nursing. Board visibility, we've been very visible. You'll see the NCSBN Governance Review Committee met last month. Shan Montgomery is our board staff that has been appointed at the national level to that committee. It is a 2-year committee and it's a very important committee and it requires a lot of hard work. I guess she can attest to that. They will be very busy, but it's a very important committee where they will be reviewing the bylaws, articles of incorporation, and making the necessary changes at the national level. We attended the mid-year meeting. I would like to highlight our board member, Ms. Lacey Gentry, soon to be Dr. Lacey Gentry. Have you defended yet?
9 days.
9 days, okay. But she presented at the mid-year meeting and it was on competency-based nursing and education. And so she did a phenomenal job. I have had people come up to me wanting to know, where did this person come from? And I said, Mississippi, the SIP, okay. But they were just amazed at her presentation, her knowledge. Phil Dickinson, the CEO of NCSBN, came up to me personally and wanted to let me know how great a job that she did. She was very knowledgeable. And so I've gotten a lot of people to inquire about that. So again, it's a testament to the skill set of the board members that we have here. So I highly encourage other board members to get involved at the national level. You know, I'm all about when the committees come up, sending out that information. So, Lacey is a rock star now. She'll probably be, she'll probably be called on to present at some other national conferences, and I wouldn't be a bit surprised if it goes international. So just be on guard. APRN Roundtable was conducted this week. I presented at the APR Roundtable on Monday. My topic was on IV hydration. I've gotten a lot of questions from other entities across the nation based on what we're doing here in Mississippi, because Mississippi is kind of looked at as one of the flagships of how to investigate this IV hydration issue that are a big issue nationwide, and not only nationwide, but internationally. I've gotten questions from New Zealand, Australia, because they're seeing this in their countries now and they don't know really how to handle it. So I'll give you guys the feedback from the evaluation once it's received, but I've gotten information from National Council that all of the responses have been very positive and the information has been very helpful. And it shows how we can work together. We work with the Board of Medicine, we work with the Board of Pharmacy and the Board of Nursing to investigate these entities. And that collaboration has been very, very effective. So again, a testament to you all for your leadership in that. And the International Center for Regulatory Scholarship Advanced Leadership Institute was held in Washington, D.C. this year. And I must say, we want to congratulate our staff member, Dr. Rebecca Cagle, who completed the institute and received her certification at this event. And so we're very proud of her for stepping up to the plate, because it does require some time and some studying to do that. But that again was a testament to the kind of staff that we have here at the Board of Nursing. Dr. Burks and I will be attending a spring advisory board meeting at the Canton Career Technical Education Center. They reached out to us to come and serve on a panel and ask questions about career technical education. Again, that's a buzzword now that you're seeing a lot about. And so we want to make sure that nursing has a seat at the table. So they reached out to us and we'll be doing that, I think, next week, I believe, the latter part of April. And upcoming meetings, you've heard about the retreat, nothing more to say on that. Vanessa Gray, my executive assistant, will be sending out additional information about that so that you are, prepared and accommodated to attend that event at the Westin. Licensure data, probably a little bit more now than when I did this report last week, because it turns over every 24 hours. But as you can see, we're right at about 65,000 plus RNs and LPNs combined in the state. And then there's a breakdown of the advanced practice nurses there for your review. The licenses that we monitor are much, much more than that. We're about at 80,000 plus licenses that we are responsible for, because some of these people have duplicate licenses that we have to monitor. Hearing matters in February. Hearing matters were 20, letters of concern were 1, 6 ASPs. We had 26 administrative affidavits and 1 administrative denial, and then 1 cease and desist. That will probably be a lot more at the next meeting based on all that was done this past week. But I want to give you this information to show you the kind of work that you do each and every time you come for the board. Our investigations and CBC actions, if you will look at this is somewhat impressive to me, because it shows that we mailed 241 fingerprint cards during that time period, which is about roughly a month. And we did 251 in-person fingerprints here at the board. And at that time, 87 new allegations came in during that period of time. And that's normally somewhat of an average as far as allegations. So if you multiply that times 12, you'll see how many allegations normally come in. Roughly an average, but that's a lot. That's a lot. Regulatory updates approved by the OLRC on March 29th of this year. And you can see those are there, Part 2840, Part 2880, Part 2820, and the one that's not listed is Part 2825. That's the procedural one about the stays. And Brandon, I don't know if you want to highlight what that says, basically.
I can. It was mainly about the appeals, this one being stayed. There was some administrative affidavit language put in there, administrative denial language put in there. It was the same language y'all approved, but it went to OLRC. Good Friday, we had the pleasure of doing that, so, it all got approved, and we're waiting on the resolution.
So all of those have been approved by OLRC, thankfully. And once we get that approval for the resolution, then it will be implemented. So thank you all for that. And this is technology investments that it's ongoing. All these projects are ongoing. And I must thank Shan for her hard work. She's the liaison for technology, and she is always getting the website updated and trying to make it easier to navigate. She's all into AI. Sometimes I have to tell her to slow down because she's all into AI. We have bots and bot videos created, and they're on the website, and it's an educational tool for our licensees. They like that. And again, the thought span data reports update. So this is ongoing, but these are things that we're doing here from a technological standpoint. And going forward, we want to focus on these key priorities. We continue to fulfill our mission of protecting the public through nursing regulation, and we could not do that without your support. So thank you for that, and that is the end of my report.
Thank you, Dr. Johnson. Are there any questions for Dr. Johnson?
I have a question, Madam President.
Hey, Dr. King?
Dr. Johnson, thank you for that report. I have a question as the breakdown of the disciplines and the licensure data. Is there anything that we have currently or have access to that you could break down those investigations for APRNs and how many are practice related, just for information moving forward for our professional organizations or legislators to understand what that looks like in our current collaborative state?
That, I can look at that information. I could probably delve into our database. Interesting enough, I had another conversation with one of the other board members similar to that request. So I'll get Dr. Burks, who is my researcher, and we will delve into that and try to get that information going forward.
Thank you.
I have just one question, just very quick. So clarify the mission and vision that's here on this handout. Is this something we're going to be discussing at the retreat, or is this restating from something we already have?
This is restating from something we've already had. Now, if you all want to change that, we can discuss it at the retreat.
My only comment is that these are pretty vague, particularly in response to regulating nursing practice and education. We don't regulate all nursing education.
Right.
I just think we need to probably be clear about that we regulate practical nursing education. Yeah. Just for clarity. Mississippi's so different.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions for Dr. Johnson? Thank you, Dr. Johnson. You do a great job. Moving forward, next to board business. The first thing we have is business meeting minutes from February 9th, 2024. Would anyone like to make a motion to accept them?
Make a motion, we accept them.
One second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any of those that oppose? Anyone? Move forward.
Can I ask a quick question on the minutes? I know there was some conversation brief about having a different structure of our minute. Have we gone anywhere?
We have had a discussion at executive meeting about that, and we're looking to moving forward with changing how we do it.
Okay, all right, thank you.
You're welcome. The next thing is the full board appellate oral argument minutes from October 2nd, 2023. Would anyone like to make a motion?
Make the motion, we accept them.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? Move forward. On future meetings, the administrative hearings and settlements are set for June 4th, 5th, and 6th, beginning at 8:30 a.m. On June 7th, the business meeting will occur at 11:05 a.m. The panel for June will be Sandra Culpepper, Carly Walker, Danielle Moody. And we will have an APRN or RN sitting for that as well to be determined. Any questions on that? All right, moving forward to the committee reports. This morning from the executive committee, we only have one thing coming out. It's in regard, I'm sorry, did I miss something?
We need a motion for executive first.
No. Coming out of the executive committee, we only have one item, and that is, I move that the board adopt the executive committee's recommendation to accept the following administrative denial. That is case number 2024-0244 in regards to an LPN exam application. Would anyone like to make a motion?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? We will move forward with that. And that will be the only thing coming out of executive committee. Next, moving on to compliance committee, Ms. Johnson.
Madam President, I move that the board adopts the compliance committee recommendation that we approve R 893398 compliant affidavit 2. And number 2, we deny P 326356 compliance affidavit 2. And one more, that we approve R 886727 R 905135 MP final order modification.
Do I have a second on that motion?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Anyone abstain? It will move forward. Any further out of your committee? Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Next, we're going to move to advanced practice committee. Dr. Stewart.
We don't have any motions to come out of the committee.
Thanks, Dr. Stewart. Next is the practice committee, Ms. Clinton.
I have one thing that we're bringing forward. What we're going to bring forward is, after discussion with the practice committee, it was decided to update the, position statement, thank you. Position statement within reference to insertion, maintenance, and removal of PICC by using ultrasound. But also we want to reference that they need to go to the decision tree to also confirm any other competencies that they may have inquired about.
Do I have a second on that motion?
I'll second it.
Any discussion?
Can I ask a question, Madam President? On
Yes.
for the position statements, are we still looking at taking those position statements down?
We are currently within practice committee reviewing, because we do have a number of people that still do look at these position statements. So as a committee, we are reviewing each one of them currently. And we will come back to the table in June with our recommendations currently at this time, but we are referencing the decision tree still. Any other questions?
Well, just to tag along, I think I'm also trying to clarify if we are shifting to the decision tree. I'm trying to understand the need to update the existing position descriptions right now. I mean, I'm not opposed to it. I'm trying to understand why we would be revising position statements if our move really is to stop referring to them.
Well, with this particular one, the position statement's already out there.
Right.
It is still on our website, it's still out there, and it was very specific to, the confirmation was via X-ray, and it was very specific to saying this is how it's going to be done via X-ray. And what they wanted to do is add the verbiage to use the ultrasound, which is the standard right now.
Right.
So that's the reason why we said we're gonna go ahead and approve that to where we can start, they can go ahead and refer to that. But we do want to go back and look at these position statements out that are out there, because there was 18, 19 that are standing out there. And seeing the viability, do we need to pull them down, or what's the viability? And why we pull up? So we're gonna go back and look at each one of them individually.
Including the one that we just updated.
Every one of them, we're gonna
Okay.
look at.
And then like making sure that there's not a, I guess, discrepancy in the position statement versus the decision tree.
Exactly, make sure there's no conflicts, because like I said, they're still out there, people are still looking at. So it's still on the website, so we've got to, that's what they're looking at also, and there are people that, from what I've been informed by Dr. Burks, they're looking at decision trees too. This was coming from a facility and this is what they were citing.
Any other questions? All those in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? We'll move forward. Any other further business from your committee, Ms. Klein?
Nothing else.
Next, we have the administrative code. Ms. Gentry?
Yes, I don't have a report, but I do have a praise. And that is for the phenomenal Administrative Code Committee that did so much great work this year. Also, Ms. Saltzman and Mr. Walker. I know we are awaiting resolution from OLRC for the Administrative Code revisions, but I just have just a tremendous amount of appreciation for the hours and hours of work that was put into this, not only by our phenomenal legal team, but also by our wonderful committee. So just a big thank you on the record, please.
Thank you, Ms. Gentry. Next is the Finance Committee. Mr. Cummings?
All right, I have a report from Finance Committee on fiscal year budget, fiscal year 24 budget expense analysis. You have your report in front of you, and I'm not gonna go real deep. I'll hit some high points here, and if you have questions, I'll be happy to answer. Revenue collected through March was $2,290,400. Our total budget's $5,062,992, and current purchase orders are sitting at $152,716.30. We have park funds available at $18,232.37. That would be fixed items such as insurance, work comp, DFA payments, so on and so forth as far as that goes. Total commitments to date is $170,948.67. Our actual expenses for the fiscal year is $3,338,164.70. And we have a current available remaining in fiscal budget total is $1,553,878.63. If you look at your breakdown under salaries, we've expended about 49.95% of this budget. That's going to be due to us having having 14 openings within the agency at the time. So the salary budget has not been expended by any means. As far as travel, we are slightly over on travel at 76.14%. We still have about 2.5 months left in this fiscal year, so I think we're going to be fine there. Or we probably will see expending that entire budget though by the end of the fiscal year. Commodities, we expended 58% of that budget. Capital out equipment is sitting at 2.85%. Which is greatly under budget. That is a budget that we normally look at toward the end of the fiscal year to see what the needs are as far as electronic replacement, so on and so forth. And so that is something that Ms. Montgomery is evaluating now to see where expenses need to take place. As far as subsidies and loans, we're going to be at 100% of that budget, meaning that the amount will be fully utilized there. In conclusion, our total expenses are sitting at 72.65% of the budget. And that shows that we're clearly managing our expenses effectively. We're in good financial standing with the board and able to continue the work of the board with an available cash at this time of $6,774,465.17. You go to page 2, you can see some information on fiscal year 25. We have not gotten approval for our fiscal year 25 budget as of yet. But there are 3 main areas that we were looking at for proposals that we hope to get some feedback on, I guess you would say. We did look at some salary increases. We've requested a 1 to 4% raise for staff that did not get a raise in fiscal year 24. We also are looking at a 10% raise for all nursing staff and new recruits. As far as staffing positions, as I mentioned earlier, we have 14 open positions. We're proposing to retain 41 of our current positions, and are open to losing one part-time position. That's got a pay rate of $15,000. That would be a clerk position. So we're open to giving that one up. As far as Office of Nursing Workforce, we continue to advocate for financial resources for the ONW. We don't look to see, we don't expect to see an increase in that budget this year, but we do have a projected plan going into fiscal year 25, 26, 26, 27. As far as other matters, the board's got a share of health insurance premiums that are going to increase by $18 a month. The retirement benefits were projected to increase by 2%. That bill died in committee, so we don't have to worry about that. The rate for mileage reimbursements increased from 65 cents to 67 cents per mile. So overall, we are in good financial state. The finances are sufficient to continue the financial mission and purpose of the board. I'm open to any questions.
Now get a motion to approve, Mr. Clemens' finance report.
Make a motion.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? The next thing on the agenda, Office of Nursing Workforce Committee. Ms. Clayton, do you have anything?
We do not have anything today.
Thank you, Ms. Clayton. Under other committee business, at this point, we are in April, and therefore we will be having elections in June. So it's appropriate to have a discussion about a nominating committee. And at this point, I would like to ask for any volunteers that would like to participate on that committee.
I'll gladly participate on the committee.
Thank you, Ms. Gentry. Anyone else? Typically, we have 3 to 4 people that sit on this committee, so do I have any other volunteers that would like to? Yes, Dr. Johnson.
I think, even though the volunteer, there has to be an election process according to the bylaws. I just want to make sure.
I'll nominate Lacey Gentry as the director of this, or the chair of this nominating committee.
I'll
Thank you.
second that.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? Questions?
So any nominations for the other committee members?
Okay.
I'd like to nominate Ms. Carly Walker. Going to get all the nominations and then vote
Yes,
all.
let's
at
go
one
ahead
time.
and do the
I'd
rest.
like to nominate Ms. Janelle Moody.
I'll second both nominations.
First say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? And we will move forward with that committee with Ms. Gentry as chair. Thank you. At this point, all of our business has been completed for the day. Do we have a motion for adjournment?
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
I cannot honor Jan.
Sounded a little over.